The most asked for video by our clients is a definitive way or guide to get at or above that elusive 800 credit score, the free way. Everything I break down in this video today is free, no cost. My name is Michael Perna with the Michael Perna Team Realtors in Metro Detroit, and we've helped over 8,000 families over the last 20 years buy and sell homes in the area, and during that time, I've helped hundreds of families raise their credit to get lower interest rates. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe for updates, and away we go. First off, what's a credit score and what's good, great, or excellent? 800 is the threshold in which most people consider a perfect score. So here's why all of this matters in the first place. Your credit score is really just a report card of how well you handle your money. Having a good credit score means you can get the lowest interest rate anytime. One of the primary examples of how it makes you money is you can get a mortgage instead of having to pay cash for a property or do a land contract, which is a really expensive loan, allowing you to increase your overall wealth through rising home values and by putting money into the market to grow over time like a 401k. Let's use an example. If you buy a $300,000 house and have rough credit and have to pay cash, that $300K is 100% tied up in the house. You'll gain the growth of the appreciation over time, and over a 30-year period is roughly 5.3% per year. So that $300K home will be worth $1.1 million in 30 years after subtracting the initial cost of the home, the $300,000, and going up in value faster than the 30-year average inflation. Note, at the time of this recording, inflation is insane, but it won't be like that forever. We're going to get back down to that 3% per year average that we love and are used to. But what we're not doing is we're not making money on the stock market, which over the last 30 years has a return rate of 7.18%, including recent losses and the market collapse in 2008. So if you put $240K into the stock market and you use the $60K for a 20% down payment and you put it into your S&P 500 fund, you'll be making more money, 7%, on that money than the current 4.5 or 5% interest that you'll be paying on the mortgage. At the end of the day, we will have raised your wealth from 1.1 million to 2.4 million over a 30-year period just by using other people's money wisely. And there are a couple extra bonuses here as well that's probably worth mentioning. It's how I get such low interest rates on credit cards, how we can get approved for pretty much any credit card, especially the best points cards, which I'll cover in another video, because points are really just getting free stuff. I mean, like a lot of free stuff. Points are amazing. You can get flights and you can get hotel rooms and you can get cash back and all kinds of things. But as always, I want to put an asterisk on this. I always advise paying off your credit card every single month so you never pay interest. Credit card interest is terrible and costly. In short, do what this video says, and I guarantee this video can easily save you or make you a few $1,000s at minimum if you actually just follow it. All right, so first, in order to understand how you can get to a perfect score, you've got to understand how the system scores you in the first place. There are several different factors, so to get to that perfect score, you have to do all of them well. So the first one is going to be your on-time payments. The biggest factor is going to be your on-time payment history, and this makes up 35% of your credit score. Now, this one's incredibly straightforward. Just don't miss a credit card payment and don't pay it off late ever in order to get to a perfect score. You'll need pretty much to never miss a payment. Otherwise, that could ruin everything. Now, here's how this works and how it's calculated. The credit guys look at all of your on-time payments and then divide that by the total payments, and then from that, they calculate what percentage you paid on time. Here's an example. Let's say you've had one credit card for 60 months and you end up missing just one payment. That means you have 59 on-time payments. Divide that by 60 total payments and you have a 98.3% payment ratio. If you want to get to a perfect score, however, in a different example, now you have two credit cards, each for 60 months, and you miss one payment. Well, now you've got a total of 120 payments between the two credit cards, which means they can take 119 on-time payments and divide it by that 120 total payments between the two cards. So that shoots your percentage up to 99.1% on time. Now, when it comes to paying your credit card on time, the really good news is that for them to count it as on-time payment, you just have to make the minimum. The second biggest part of what makes up your credit score is what's called the credit utilization ratio, and it's big. I mean, 30% of your score is impacted by this. Now, in order to get a perfect score, the credit bureaus want to see that you're not out there just maxing out all of your credit cards and that you're only using a very small percentage of your overall credit that you have available to you. Ideally, you want to be spending under 10% of your total credit limit, showing the almighty credit gods that you don't need all the money that they've given you because you're that good with money. Now, if you're confused, let me go over how this works. Here's how it's calculated. Let's say you have a credit card with a $10,000 limit and you go out there and you spend $6,000. And then after that, you go and just make the minimum payment. At that point, do the calculation and you're using about 60% of the current available credit limit that you have, which puts you in the red category here, which is bad. And from that, you're seen as a riskier borrower because you're carrying a higher balance, and that makes the credit bureaus angry and they're going to lower your score on the other end. if you have one credit card with a $10,000 limit, you spend $6,000, but you pay it off in full when it's due, and that means it's now $0 on a $10,000 credit limit line, you now have a 0% credit utilization, which makes the credit bureaus very happy and gets you back into the green category. Keeping a balance on a credit card is not going to help improve your score, and if anything, it's going to cost you more money in interest and bring your score down because it's not a zero. It's always better to pay it off in full every single month and carry a zero balance on your credit card so you're never being charged interest. The third highest impact on a credit rating is the length of time of open credit. This just means the longer you've had open credit or the sooner you can start building it, the better. This is one of the reasons why I highly recommend people to build their credit as soon as they possibly can, even if that means going and getting a credit card the day you turn 18. This will build the entire foundation of your credit history very early on. Now, it's very important to me to distinguish here that this is calculated by the average length of your total credit history and not the total length. Let me explain. Let's say you have one open credit card 4 years ago. That would mean you have an average credit history of 4 years. But if you opened up that one credit card 4 years ago and then you opened up a new credit card today, your average credit history would be reduced now down to 2 years. Remember, because it only takes the average, the same also applies in reverse. If you end up closing an old credit card because some people believe it's a good idea just to close old credit cards they don't use, this could be really bad because once you close off an old credit card, even though it still shows on your account for 7 to 10 years, it can lower the average age of all of your accounts. So my recommendation is to first start building your credit as soon as you possibly can. Keep all of those accounts in good standing as long as possible. This is going to help you build up a solid fortress of long-standing credit history so that when you do so and you go apply for new credit, it's not going to affect your account as much because you already have a long-standing credit history, and because of that, it's going to reduce your score a lot less when you open up a new trade line. The fourth aspect affecting your credit score is how many lines of credit do you have open, and this makes up 10% of your score. Now, this is one of those things that you would think makes absolutely no sense. Like, why would you go and reward somebody for going and opening up more credit cards and taking out more loans? Logic would dictate that the person that has less credit cards or less trade lines or less loans would have the higher credit score, and that's actually kind of the opposite of how it works. Because with more credit cards, you have two things. One, a lower utilization ratio, and two, more on-time payments being made every month, which means the higher the score you'll have, even if that doesn't make any sense. Having a mix of credit, like a mortgage and an auto loan and a credit card, shows lenders that you can responsibly handle different types of debt without defaulting on any of them. All of this sounds like pretty backwards thinking, and I think a lot of it reminds me of the mindset we're only going to loan people money who don't need money because they're the most likely ones to pay it back, and that is kind of the way it is. That's banking. According to Credit Karma, a perfect credit mix includes 21 trade lines of mortgages, cars, credit cards, and other loans. And that's going to take people a really super long time to get to. But I got to remember, Rome was not built in a day, and I recommend that you aim to diversify your credit profile over time because of the long-term impact it's going to have. It's going to get you that 800 score, but also don't rush. Now, the last makeup of your credit score is what's called hard inquiries, and that has an effect of between 5 and 10%, and it's just the total amount of inquiries on your credit report. So here's how this one works. Anytime you go and apply for new credit, it's reported to the credit bureaus and shows up on your report in what's called a hard inquiry. This helps lenders keep track of how many times that you're going and asking around for credit. Generally speaking, the more times you're asking, the riskier you become. And this is because lenders are worried that all of a sudden you're out there all over the world applying for new cards, applying for new loans, and they're concerned that maybe something happened. Like, why did this person just go and apply for 3 credit cards? Are they running out of money? And also, when you do open up that new credit card, for the most part, your credit is going to temporarily fall for 90 days to 6 months. And this is because the average time or length of credit just got chopped by that new card being added in. So if you go apply for a new credit card and a hard inquiry hits, and you go and open up that credit card and you see like a 50, 60, or even 70 point drop, don't freak out. It's a temporary thing. It was a reduction of your average length of credit history plus the hard inquiry combined. And then the good news on hard inquiries is they don't last forever. They last the shortest on a credit report, a maximum of 2 years. And if you're shopping around for an auto loan or a mortgage, you are going to need to have to run your credit, and the credit bureaus understand that for these two loan types, people will have their credit run 2 to 4 times, so that will not necessarily impact your credit score negatively. So here we are at the end of this video. Here are the main takeaways from this video. The heaviest impact on your credit score is going to be on-time payments. So even if you have to make just a minimum payment, the $25 to $50 a month payment just to kick the can down the road, I would rather see you do that than potentially be late because you can't pay the whole thing off. Second is length of time. So you definitely want to open up those 2 or 3 credit cards as fast as possible if you're turning 18, or if you only have 1 or 2 trade lines and you want to get into the 3 or 4 or 5 level, you definitely want to add those in as fast as possible so those can start marinating and that length of credit goes longer. Third up, you want to keep a very bare minimum of your total credit actually used. keep that number under 5%. So if you've got a $10,000 credit line, you want to make sure to end every month at or below $500 on that credit line. And last but not least, you want to have as few hard inquiries as possible. The credit bureaus know that you're going to have 8 to 12 per year before they really start negatively affecting you, but they will start negatively affecting you, and those will go away pretty quick and they drop off in 2 years. My name is Mike Perna. I hope you found this video exceptionally helpful on how to get to an 800 credit score the free way. And should you have any questions about buying homes or selling a property in or around Metro Detroit, we'd be honored to be your real estate team of choice. Thank you again, everyone, and make it a great day.